My name is Robert Macnerney, and people know me as Rob Mac on Instagram. And I drive a 93 Nissan 240SX that I've converted to right-hand drive. I first got into cars when I was a really small kid. I was probably about 5 years old. My uncle used to take me to the dirt track races at Verona. We would see the cars sliding on the track. I always loved it. I loved the smell of race gas. The World of Outlaws, they're sprint cars. It's basically a giant V8 strapped into a little tiny car, and they go like 90 miles an hour sideways in the dirt. That's basically drift racing for these guys in the dirt. I always loved it. I feel like that had a big part of what inspired me to get into drifting. And I love seeing the drivers and just how loud everything was, and the main thing was the smell of race gas. That's something I will always remember from when I was a kid. It's different from E85. It's like a sweet, like pungent, I can't really describe it, but once you know the smell of race gas, you'll never forget it. And then when I got a little bit older, Initial D came out, and I started playing that at the arcades, and I always loved the Corolla. I wanted one, and then D1 GP came over here to the States, and that's what really kind of kicked off my drifting addiction, you could say. That was probably about 2003 is when I really got into it, and I wanted to buy a Corolla and build it. A friend of mine had a 240 with an SR20 in it, and I always loved it, and I eventually bought that from him when I was 18 years old. I got my first 240 with the SR. That was in 2008 is when I got my first turbo 240, and I got into a lot of trouble with that car. Back then I was mainly doing like mountain driving, like toge driving, going to the mountains out in San Diego County, the foothills, and just like running the roads at night with my friends. And then I learned that you could weld the diff, and that's what really took off. Yeah, once I started getting sideways, I never looked back, and I never did any other type of racing other than drifting. When I got into it, I built my car more for the function of everything. I wanted to be able to be competitive and fast. About a couple years ago, started liking the style aspect of everything, and it kind of just went together. When you see a sick built drift car, it meets both those criteria of style and function, and it really stands out, and people can tell that you built a purpose-built drift car. My drivetrain is a built KA24DE. It's got Eagle rods, Supertech pistons, ARP head studs, main studs, ACL race bearings, and Brian Crowder cams. The turbo is a S15 turbo, a GT28 71R, and an S14 transmission with a competition clutch White Bunny 6-puck. I run a VP 114 race gas. It's the purple VP, so when you pour it, it's purple. I haven't really had any issues with it other than it being kind of expensive. Yeah, it's a lot more expensive than E85, but it does last quite a while. E85, you go through it a lot quicker. I think I run it because of when I was a kid. I loved that smell so much, and now I get it from my own car. It's tuned for 100 octane, so I can run anything above that. If I run like 91, then it's not the best for it, but I run VP 114 octane, so that's why it does so well. Suspension is basically all Megan. I have Megan arms, Megan coilovers. In the front, I have GK Tech roll center adjusters. I also have Techno toy tuning, extended control arms, and Part Shop Max outer tie rods. The interior is Sparco. I have Sparco seats. The harness is Edition Auto Sport harnesses. Yeah, not many people have seen them. That's why I wanted to kind of stick out a little bit. I love the retro theme of it, the HKS pattern, and they really did a good job. They're SFI certified, and you can't go wrong with them. My Aero kind of went a little bit different. I have an S13 hood, carbon fiber, and then I have a 180SX front bumper. and so that gives it a little different look. I run LED headlights, and then I have Origin Type 3 fenders in the front. That's really about it for the Aero. I also have carbon fiber mirrors, side skirts, just your basic drift car setup. Yeah, when you build it right, style kind of goes with the function of it. Like your front tires, they stick out a lot more because you have longer control arms in the front and more steering, and then you have to adapt with bigger fenders and stuff like that, a wider rear end. It really just goes together as one. I plan on making it full S13. It's already right-hand drive. I'm gonna throw an SR20 into it and then get the Sylvia JDM front end. And this will basically be my demo car where I take it out on drift days with friends. So then it'll be like a Japanese spirited car, like full right-hand drive, SR20, JDM front end, like trying to keep the spirit of Japanese drifting alive. Trying to build a separate car that I haven't unveiled yet that's going to be pretty crazy for my competition car. I'm keeping it on the low. So when I got into drifting, it was still really small. Only the dudes in Japan were really hardcore about it. There were a few people over here in the States that were being competitive and really taking it to that next level. Now that like all these Ken Block videos are coming out and like you see more videos of people drifting on the street, a lot more people are being like reckless with their consideration towards others and just kind of going for it with any car they have and doing it anywhere at any time, which can be detrimental for everyone else because it puts a bad view on the community for people who really are trying to take it seriously. I can be trailering my car somewhere and I can get 10 compliments, but then one person is out there saying that I'm giving like a bad reputation for like people who are doing it on the street. If I drive my car down the street, I have 3 or 4 neighbors come out telling me that I need to put the car away, that I'm like a bad influence on the kids, and that's really not what I'm about. I'd like to see people at the track running, showing their full potential at the track instead of just going and doing like one little power slide on the street on like an on-ramp or something, giving the people who take it seriously a bad reputation. It's making it to where they don't differentiate the two of street driving and actual track driving and people who do take it to heart and take it seriously. And a lot of kids are growing up intertwining the two, and they're not able to differentiate street drifting from takeovers from actual track driving, and it sucks. But I think with more people advocating for the legit track drivers, that we'll be able to move forward. This is kind of just a phase that everyone is going through because it's so new for the general public. For the most part, they get the most attention in the media for sure. The media isn't showing people at the track with all the safety equipment having fun, doing it safely. They're just showing everybody out in intersections on the freeway, like causing traffic jams and people getting hit by cars. That's not what I'm about. I'm trying to separate that from actual drifting, people who want to take it seriously go to the track and they take that time to invest in themselves and their safety of their car. So for people who are just starting out and they want to get into drifting, I would say just get a stock rear-wheel drive car and weld the diff with coilovers and go with your friends to any track day that you see. That's the best place you're gonna learn. Unfortunately, we didn't have that many tracks when I was learning, so I learned in parking lots and like empty spaces like that. Kind of honed my skills a little bit until I felt comfortable enough to go to the track. And once I went to the track, I didn't stop going to the track. Like I just kept going and kept going to as many track days as I could. Apple Valley, thank God they're upgrading their facility, and they just put in a big skid pad that helps for people who are like really learning the basics of drifting. That'll help you with getting donuts down and learning your J turns and e-brake turns and initiations and all that stuff. So I would just say stay off the street and do what you can to get to the track. Do as much as you can, work as hard as you can to get your car set up to where you can go to the track.